Discipline saved my life in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. But discipline alone won't keep you alive out here in the real world, in the modern world. You've got to be disciplined and dangerous because this world is on the edge of World War III. I'm Jesse, retired infantry paratrooper, multiple combat deployments, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria. I've been a husband for over 20 years, 21 years now. I'm a father for over 20 years. I'll be a grandfather soon, bringing a grandson into this world. I'm making these videos so that my son may one day watch these, my grandson, my grandchildren can watch this video. And these videos, and they can see the kind of message that I want to leave behind in society that I'm working towards creating, using the skills that I have available. Look around. Our leaders are fumbling. Hollywood's teaching boys to be soft, and TikTok's raising a generation who can't even do a push-up. Discipline makes you strong. Being dangerous, that keeps you free. Put the two together, and you become the kind of man this fragile world is terrified of. You want to know what discipline looks like in 2025? It's waking up at the same time every day, regardless of how you feel. It's physical training when your body doesn't want to move. It's reading books instead of scrolling through social media. Media feeds are designed to jack your attention and turn you into a consumer. You hear me harp on that all the time. Discipline means keeping your word when it's inconvenient. It means saving money you'd rather spend. It means eating in instead of eating out. It means not getting the immediate satisfaction from what you're doing. But here's where most self-improvement gurus get it wrong. Optimizing yourself enough. If you just follow these routines and read enough books and attend enough seminars, you'll somehow become invulnerable to the chaos of existence. And that's dangerous thinking because it produces harmless people. Well-organized, highly optimized, completely harmless people. And harmless people get eaten alive when the world gets ugly. What it is doing rapidly. Sorry for my language. I'm going to try to edit that out. See, discipline without danger is just elaborate self-delusion. It's like learning martial arts forms without ever sparring. It's like studying war without ever fighting. It looks impressive from the outside, but when the pressure is applied, when real consequences show up, it crumbles. I've seen this in Jiu-Jitsu. I've seen this on the battlefield. I've seen this in guys who knew every technique, who were extremely physically fit. I've seen it in people who've watched all the instructional videos. They spent their hours on the computer. They spent all their time in class training. They've done thousands and thousands of reps. But when it comes time to roll against somebody who's maybe a little bigger, maybe who's a little better, maybe who's actively trying to submit them, they start to crumble. They start to lose it because they're not putting in the active participation. The same thing happens in life. You've got men who've optimized their diets, their sleep schedule, their productivity, and they got these systems, but when someone disrespects their family, they're just standing there. When their jobs get threatened, they panic. When society starts breaking down around them, they have no idea what to do because they've never cultivated the capacity for controlled aggression. They never learned the danger. The real danger is not being dangerous when the situation calls for it. And make no mistake, the situation is going to call for it at some time in your life. We're watching a global world order collapse in real time. Russia is grinding through Ukraine. China is preparing to take Taiwan. Iran is stirring up proxy wars, and we're not going to name certain things that will get you nixed and stop getting some of my videos pushed out already, I'm sure. And in the middle of all this chaos, you've got men whose greatest achievement is a perfect morning routine and a color-coded calendar. That's not going to cut it. When the lights go out, when the supply trucks stop running, civil authority breaks down, discipline alone will not save you. You need to be dangerous. You need to be capable of violence when violence is the only language the situation understands. Because I'm going to tell you right now, violence is the only universal language. It's not love, contrary to popular belief. And body language is the only language spoken at the speed of light. Learn a little bit about posturing, a video for another day. Because this is crucial. And danger without discipline is just as useless. Maybe even more useless because undisciplined, dangerous people, they are liabilities. They become the chaos that good people have to clean up. Look at what's happening in our cities right now. Gang violence, random shootings, people pulling weapons over parking spaces. That's not warrior culture. That's just broken people with access to tools they don't understand and they shouldn't have. Real danger is disciplined danger. It's controlled aggression. It's the capacity for violence held in check by wisdom, restraint. It's knowing exactly how much force the situation requires and applying exactly that much, no more, no less. It's being the kind of man who can end and assess a threat instantly, but chooses not to, unless absolutely necessary. Japanese understood this. Samurai weren't just killers. They were scholars, poets, and philosophers. They studied war, but they also studied art. They could take a life, but they could also appreciate beauty. They were dangerous. That danger was channeled through discipline, something greater than just destruction. They understood that the warrior is knows only war is incomplete, and the scholar who knows only books is useless. That's the balance we're talking about, and that's the modern world, and that's what we desperately need everyone to understand. We're producing specialists. Guys are either completely safe and harmless or completely reckless and destructive. We're not producing men who can be both disciplined and dangerous anymore. Men who can be gentle with their children, yet lethal to a threat. Who can build civilizations during peace and defend it during war. And the clock's ticking, because while our Western world and the Western men have been getting softer and more comfortable, our enemies have been getting harder and more disciplined. There's people fighting wars on continents right now, and they're not worried about their LinkedIn profiles. You got our enemies preparing to invade other foreign countries that are our friends. We may be called to aid them. We got these things going on right now. Our enemies are training, they're preparing, they're becoming more dangerous while we're becoming more comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of everything that makes men useful during a crisis. Comfort is not, this isn't abstract philosophy. This is immediate practical reality. In my neighborhood, I know which men I can count on if things go sideways. I know who's going to go and who are the liabilities going to be. The ones I can count on understand the balance. They're disciplined enough to be reliable and dangerous enough to be effective. They're the guys who wake up early, they train regularly, they keep their gear ready, they maintain their skills, and understand that being a protector means being prepared for the worst case scenario. The liabilities are the ones who've optimized themselves into helplessness. They can tell you all about their macros, their sleep optimization, their productivity hacks, how much they squat, how much they deadlift, right? But they can't change a tire or throw a punch or make the hard decisions under pressure. They mistaken comfort for strength and safety for security. And here's what's really dangerous. What's really dangerous about that is they vote, they influence people, they raise children, they spread their weakness like a virus, convincing others that strength is toxic and that preparedness is paranoia, that anyone who maintains the capacity for violence is somehow morally inferior. That is backwards thinking, and it's going to get people killed, and it's going to get someone you love killed. And the truth is this: violence is a fundamental part of human nature. It's not going away because we pretend it doesn't exist. It's not being eliminated by therapy or legislation or social progress. It's not going to be eliminated by any culture that you can think of. It's always been there, and it will always be there. The question isn't whether violence exists. The question is whether good people are prepared to use it when necessary to protect what matters. And right now, too many good people aren't. They've been conditioned to believe that capacity for violence makes them bad people. They've been taught that strength is oppression and that preparation is pathology. They've been convinced that the police will always be there, that the government will always function, and that civilization is permanent and unbreakable. And none of that's true. Civilization is fragile. Order is temporary. Safety is an illusion that we create for ourselves so we can maintain focus and function. And the people who understand violence and are prepared to use it on behalf of those who don't, those are going to be your real heroes in a time of need. I learned this overseas, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. Every day, the life between life and death was order and discipline and the necessary for controlled violence. You can't just go willy-nilly and hurt anyone, right? People were polite. You have to be polite to everyone. You got to be polite to the locals. You got to be kind and courteous and still have a plan to kill. These same principles apply to civilian life. A strong father protects his family, not through wishful thinking, but through preparedness. The good neighbor helps others not because he's harmless, but because he chooses to use his strength constructively. The responsible citizen maintains order, not through passive compliance, but through active participation in the social contract that we all have. You're in society, you're a part of it. You have a role to play. And men understand that being dangerous is not about seeking conflict. It's about being prepared for conflict when it finds you. And it will find you. Maybe not tomorrow, but eventually every man faces a situation where his capacity for controlled violence will determine whether he protects what he loves or he loses it. These recent lockdowns should have taught us this. Supply chain disruptions, social unrest, government overreach, economic uncertainty. The people who weathered that storm, the best ones, were people who had already been preparing. They didn't have to leave. They didn't have to worry about nothing. They didn't stress out. right? They maintain physical fitness, financial discipline, practical skills, and the mental toughness to adapt when comfortable routines got disrupted. And the people who struggled were the ones who had outsourced their security to institutions. And that's what I mean when I talk about being dangerous. I'm not talking about looking for fights or intimidating people or using violence to solve problems that don't require violence. I'm talking about maintaining the capacity to handle yourself in these civilized situations and have a civilized solution. But sometimes that civilized solution is violence. It's maybe holding someone down without hurting them, right? You learn that in jiu-jitsu, but also having the capacity to go the full distance if you need to. Maybe there's multiple people and maybe multiple attackers. Maybe you have to do what you got to do. But jiu-jitsu has taught me a lot of things, more than just violence. It's taught me to balance. And on the mats, you learn to be dangerous and chokes and joint locks and pressure, get into fight quickly, but then you got to be disciplined. You got to be gentle. You got to learn to release when they tap. You have to listen for that at the same time, and not just your own goals, but for the safety of your partners. You learn to be completely in control of yourself and another person's body, literally and figuratively. And that's a metaphor for life. You need to be capable of ending the fight, but wise enough to avoid fighting unless it's necessary. You need to be strong enough to impose your will, but disciplined enough to only impose it when it's required, when you need to be dangerous enough to protect what matters. But controlled, we need to be controlled enough to be able to contribute, create a peaceful society and not make the problem worse. The problem with modern masculinity is that we've split these concepts apart. We've got men who are disciplined to harmless, they've optimized their productivity, right? But they can't defend anything if their lives depended on it. And then we've got men who are just extremely dangerous, but they're undisciplined, they're angry, destructive, chaotic. And they use violence as their first option instead of the last resort in all of their areas of life. And neither of those types are what we need. And neither of those types are what any society needs. You need complementary people. You need a complete man. You need to follow the tenets of the complete man. You need to be for a man, you got to be the husband, the father, the creator, the builder, right? The warrior, right? There's a lot of tenets. And that's not toxic masculinity. That's just masculinity, real masculinity, the kind that built the Western civilization that you now live in, that everyone that you know, if you're watching this video, if you're watching this, everyone you know is benefiting right now from Western civilization. You literally have the world's knowledge at your fingertips due to that. And now we're raising a generation of boys who've never been in a fight, never faced real consequences for their actions or their words, never had to develop the kind of mental toughness that comes from overcoming genuine adversity. We're teaching them that their feelings matter more than their actions, and that their comfort matters more than their competence or their relationships, right? That being liked matters more than being respected. And then we wonder why we have these young men out here who can't function in life, and they can't function when things get hard, and they can't take refusal, right? Why they make these decisions that are just beyond comprehension. The world we're living in right now is a fantasy, and the real world contains people who don't care about your feelings, who don't respond to reason, who will take what you have if you can't stop them. The real world contains natural disasters, economic collapses, and social breakdown, and freaking war. And right now, there's a lot of it. The real world requires men who can function in chaos and who can make hard decisions under pressure, who can protect what matters when protection is needed, could fight those desires and urges and not be swayed with them. These men aren't born, they're made. They're forced through discipline, fire, facing adversity, and deliberately choosing a hard path when the easy path, even though the easy path is available, right? They develop by embracing discomfort and uncertainty and the certain possibility of failure. And that process starts with understanding that comfort is not the goal and safety is the goal. Optimization is not the goal. The goal is becoming the kind of man who can handle whatever life throws at him and then protect whatever he values most. The goal is developing both discipline to build a civilization and the danger to defend it. Everything else is just details. I've babbled enough about that. I'm going to go and edit some of these cuss words out. I was getting a little worked up here.